A desperate plea, a promise made amidst the flames, and a bond no one could have foreseen. This is the story of a firefighter who went beyond the call of duty, not just saving a life but creating something extraordinary. What began as an act of bravery turned into a journey of love and transformation. Get ready to be moved. It was a cold and silent morning in the city. The sky was covered with dark clouds, and the air carried the scent of rain about to fall. Everything seemed calm, but Luke, a firefighter known for his courage and dedication, was about to face a morning that would change his life forever. The shrill alarm echoed through the station, breaking the silence. Luke jumped from the chair where he had been resting, quickly putting on his uniform. One of his colleagues shouted, "It's a fire in a residential building." Luke's heart raced, not out of fear but urgency. He knew every second mattered. When they arrived at the scene, Luke was immediately struck by the devastation. The building was being consumed by flames that danced in intense shades of orange and red, lighting up the dark sky with a menacing glow. Thick, dark smoke formed towering columns that mixed with the cold air, creating an ominous contrast. He took a deep breath, adjusted his helmet, and felt the weight of responsibility as he took his first steps into the danger. Each movement inside the building felt like a battle against the oppressive heat that pierced through his gear and the dense smoke that made it nearly impossible to see his next step. Every moment reminded him that lives were at stake, and retreat wasn't an option. Amid the dense smoke and suffocating heat, a faint sound broke through the chaos, catching Luke's attention. It was a desperate cry, so subtle it was nearly drowned out by the roar of the flames. Guided by the sound, he pushed forward with determination through the scorching, dark corridors until he reached a small apartment. The scene was devastating, soot covered every surface. In a corner, leaning against the wall, was Sandy. Her face was streaked with soot and tears, her eyes reflecting a mix of fear and hope. Luke quickly knelt beside her, trying to reassure her. With a weak, trembling voice, she whispered, "My daughter. My baby is at daycare. Please take care of her." Each word seemed like an enormous effort, and Luke had to lean in close to hear her clearly. Before he could respond, Sandy's eyes closed, and she lost consciousness, leaving him with the heavy burden of a promise filled with love and desperation. With a mix of urgency and empathy, Luke carefully lifted her into his arms. He felt the intense heat through his gear and the constant threat of the collapsing ceiling. Every step back to the exit was a race against time, but he didn't falter. Luke's heart was set on one goal, saving this woman and honoring her words. In that moment, his mission was more than a rescue, it was a promise he was determined to keep. With the weight of responsibility heavy on his heart, Luke carried her outside, facing the searing heat and the danger of falling debris. When he finally emerged from the building, applause and relieved murmurs greeted him. Sandy was rushed to the hospital in critical condition, and Luke felt the weight of her final words. He knew he had to honor that promise. Later that afternoon, Luke couldn't shake Sandy's desperate plea from his mind. Driven by the promise and his concern, he sought more information about her and her daughter. He learned that Sandy lived alone with Sarah in that apartment. Abandoned by her husband, she had been struggling to raise the little girl with what little she had. Talking to neighbors, he found out where Sarah's daycare was located. With a heavy heart, he drove there, still wearing part of his firefighting gear. Upon entering, he was met with curious and slightly suspicious looks from the staff. Calmly, he introduced himself. "My name is Luke, I'm a firefighter. I rescued Sandy this morning from a fire. She asked me to take care of Sarah while she's in the hospital. I'd like to speak with her." Touched by his story, the staff brought Sarah out. When Sarah appeared, her curious and unsure eyes scanned him. Luke knelt to her level and said, "Hi, Sarah. I'm a friend of your mom's. She asked me to take care of you while she gets better. Would you like to come with me? I promise to take good care of you." Sarah studied him for a moment, her innocent eyes filled with curiosity. Finally, a small smile appeared on her face. "Are you really my mom's friend?" she asked softly, her voice tinged with hesitation. Luke nodded with a warm smile. "Yes, and she's very brave. Did you know you're really brave too? She smiled, gently holding his hand. I'll go with you, but I want to see my mom soon, she said with a hopeful expression. Luke gave her small hand a reassuring squeeze and replied, and you will, I promise. Your mom asked me to take care of you, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. With a lighter heart, Sarah followed Luke, instinctively trusting the man who seemed to bring a sense of safety amidst the chaos. The daycare staff, moved by the situation, raised no objections, recognizing Luke's sincerity and the selfless gesture he was making. Luke brought Sarah to his home, where his grandmother Bernadette lived. Bernadette was a woman with a generous heart, known for always finding a way to offer comfort to those in need. She welcomed Sarah as if she were family, without hesitation, and soon the once quiet and reserved home came to life. Sarah's infectious laughter and simple games filled every corner, transforming the house into a space of warmth and joy. Despite his challenging profession as a firefighter, Luke was still a young man with dreams and a life marked by dedication. He had lost his parents early and was raised by Bernadette, who always inspired him to be generous. Before the incident with Sandy and Sarah, Luke led a solitary routine, focused on his work and the few moments he shared with his grandmother. He wasn't accustomed to caring for a child, but something about Sarah touched him deeply. In the first few days, Luke found himself trying to balance Sarah's boundless energy with his own routine. There were nights when he stayed awake, planning how to ensure she was safe and happy while Sandy remained in the hospital. He never imagined a work incident would extend into something so personal, but now he felt his life had gained new meaning. Meanwhile, Sandy remained in critical condition at the hospital, under close medical monitoring. Though unconscious, Luke visited her regularly, sharing Sarah's small victories. Each visit was a reminder of the promise he had made, but also a hope that she would wake up to see how much her daughter was loved and cared for. He would sit by her side, hold her hand, and softly say, "Sandy, Sarah is doing well. She's strong, just like you. We're waiting for you." These words, though simple, carried deep emotion and sincerity, reflecting the bond he felt growing stronger with each passing day. These visits became almost routine. He would bring Sarah's drawings, recount stories of her games, and share moments from their day. Once, he arrived with a simple bouquet of flowers Sarah had chosen for her mother. "She said these flowers will make you smile when you open your eyes," he told Sandy, watching closely for any sign of a reaction, even the faintest movement or involuntary expression. As days went by, Luke realized that the responsibility he had taken on went far beyond a promise. He felt that his presence was a bridge between Sandy and Sarah, keeping the hope of their reunion alive. Despite the cold clinical environment of the hospital and the machines monitoring Sandy's every vital sign, Luke never stopped talking to her as if she might respond at any moment. Each visit strengthened his commitment, not only to Sandy but also to the new family he was unexpectedly building. More than anything, he longed for the day when mother and daughter could embrace again. Finally, after weeks of waiting, Sandy's eyes slowly opened, as if awakening from a distant dream. The light in the room made her blink a few times before her vision adjusted, and there in front of her were Luke and Sarah. Luke held the little girl in his arms, both of them looking at her with hope and affection. It was as if time had stopped. Sandy felt a wave of overwhelming emotions rush through her. She didn't fully understand what was happening, how she had gotten there, or how long she had been unconscious, but the human warmth of the moment was unmistakable. Gratitude, relief, and an inexplicable sense of warmth filled her heart as her eyes locked on Sarah and Luke, absorbing the intensity of this long-awaited reunion. When Sarah realized her mother was awake, she let out a joyful cry, "Mommy." Luke helped her down from his arms, and the little girl ran to embrace Sandy, who tried to lift her arms to hold her, despite her weakness. "My little one, you're here. So beautiful," Sandy said in a hoarse but tender voice. Still very weak, she tried to say more, but the words came out as faint whispers. Even so, Luke and Sarah felt the emotion she conveyed, as if each effort to speak was a testament to her love and gratitude for the moment. Luke smiled, moving closer carefully. He held Sandy's hand, now slightly stronger. "Your little one is safe, Sandy. You've raised an amazing girl. She's strong just like you," he said, his voice full of emotion. During one of Luke and Sarah's visits, Sandy felt more awake, though still emotionally fragile. Tears began to stream down her face, not just from the happiness of seeing Sarah safe, but also from Luke's dedication and kindness. "You took care of her. You kept my promise alive." "Thank you, Luke," Sandy said, gripping his hand with deep gratitude. Though her words were slow and her voice raspy, each sentence carried intense emotion, as if her entire heart was poured into her thanks. Luke, in turn, gently squeezed her hand, his smile radiating relief and tenderness. "We're here, Sandy. You and Sarah will always have each other, and now we have something even greater, a bond that cannot be broken," he replied, with a conviction that made Sandy's eyes shine. As Sarah nestled beside Sandy, Luke realized this moment was more than just a simple reunion. It was the beginning of something greater, built on love, hope, and the connection they had created through their struggles. Over time, Sandy recovered and began spending more time with Luke and Sarah. They developed a routine, forming a makeshift family. Sandy saw in Luke not just a hero, but a man with a giant heart. Luke, in turn, found in Sandy a strong and inspiring woman. One sunny afternoon in the park, as Luke played with Sarah, he approached Sandy and said, "Since you both came into my life, everything has changed. I never imagined that caring for someone could make me so happy. I'd love for us to build something together, like a family." Overwhelmed with emotion, Sandy held his hand and replied, "You're already a part of our family, Luke. I don't know what I would have done without you." Not long after, Sandy and Luke decided to get married. The ceremony was simple but filled with love. A radiant Sarah called Luke Daddy for the first time, bringing tears to everyone's eyes. During the celebration, Luke's grandmother, Bernadette, beamed with pride. With her eyes glistening with happiness, she watched them with profound emotion. When she approached Luke, she gently touched his face and said with a trembling voice, "My dear, I prayed so many times for you to find happiness, to build a family full of love. And God answered me in a way more beautiful than I ever imagined. Look at you all. You're the sweetest answer to my prayers." Luke, with tears in his eyes, held Bernadette's hands and smiled. "You always believed in me, Grandma. Thank you for never giving up." Bernadette caressed his hands and replied, "You deserve this, Luke. You've created a beautiful family. Never doubt the love that brought you together." The lives of Luke, Sandy, and Sarah became a journey of love, resilience, and new beginnings. Each day was proof that even in the hardest times, light and hope could be found. They not only fulfilled a promise but built a life together, showing that true love can arise in the most unexpected moments. This is a story about courage, dedication, and how bonds formed in extreme circumstances can transform lives forever. If this journey touched your heart, leave a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and send this story to someone you love. Stories like this remind us of the power of love and the strength of a generous heart. As the new year begins, may you find moments as special as these and live with joy and hope. Happy New Year! Here's to more incredible stories to share in the year ahead. See you next time.